Okay, so we should be back to live now. I hope so.
I'm gonna test.
Yeah, we are live. Are we live?
Yeah, the Discord is live.
That's good.
So we see the Discord screen live.
Disco screen live. Wait, what? How could that
Yeah.
happen? Disco screen. No, it should be my desktop.
It's not.
That's weird. Wait, let's see if we're live. Oh, it says it's paused. Wait, I'm gonna go.
It's sorry.
Well, I mean, it is live. It is live. I'm not sure where.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's good, yes.
Okay, so I hope there's still some people left here. I'm really sorry for the delay. No, there's just one person now. That's not good. Okay, so I don't know if somebody hears me now. No, nobody doesn't because we have 000 everywhere. That's amazing.
It's a new live stream.
Is it? Oh shit.
I think it's another URL. I'm gonna take a look.
Yeah, this one just saved now. So we have a new live stream now.
URL.
Yeah, it is a new one. Okay. But I mean, we are live at least. That's what's good.
But people need a new link.
Yeah, shit. That's bad. Hello? So we will really have to make a video out of it, I guess. Because, like, this one sort of works to some extent, but it doesn't really. It's been like, what, 2 streams? Oh, 2 streams, it's not too bad. Yeah, this is the live one. This is the one we can see now.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna mute my Discord so that you can hear me through the stream now. Okay, guys, so I don't know if people will rejoin back. I'm really sorry, we had some connectivity problems. My phone literally just died, the one I was connecting to the internet from. But I think we can continue, and we can continue with the demo drop now. How does that sound? Yeah, so I think, Dranenk, can you get off the stream now so that we can talk through Discord? And there's no
Get
delay.
off the stream?
Yeah, so that there's no delay for you. And then we can talk through the stream.
I'm not sure. So I'm on the Discord now.
Yeah, so now, did you turn the stream off?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we can just...
My screen or
No,
your
it's fine,
stream?
because we're gonna go through the demos now, so... I was just wondering what would be a better way to do that.
Okay.
Do we have any demos, though? We did have
I just got this. I have that one piano piece. This one.
Oh yeah, let's listen to that.
Right there.
So it's the one putter remained, right? Or...
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's... I have to start the voice meter again.
Oh no, you can hear it well. It works pretty good. Hello, the chat works. That's good. We have people in the same chat room, so that's pretty good.
Does it sound good to you?
No, it doesn't. There's integrating sound starting.
Yeah, that's... that's bad. Yeah.
Where does that come from? Is that the mic or something?
No, it's the voice meter. So I don't have a noise. I have a kind of distortion.
Well, I mean, that's okay. We can listen like this. Shouldn't be an issue.
I'll try to start it one more time and then... I hate you. Voice meter.
It gets quieter.
No, it's good.
Yeah, it's good. Okay.
Alright, so
Shall we listen?
this piano piece is somewhat an improvisation, I think. So I'm just gonna play some of it. Oh, it's back. Alright, so it goes on like this. The first thing I noticed when I listened to this is the Assassin's Creed theme from Assassin's Creed 2. And that's this one. Here. They did that very prominently. I love that melody. So I maybe... who sent the track again?
Puzzler did, I think. Was it?
Alright, maybe he noticed that I moved his arrangement up a half because it was like this. I just moved it up one so that it's on the white keys again. So then I consolidated the tracks so everything is on in one clip, and then I cut out my favorite part, which is the Assassin's Creed 2 part, this one. And we're gonna take a look at that. I copied it here. Alright, and I think this is just A, C, D, E, and this down below here is a copy of that, A, C, D, E. So I'm just gonna focus on that last one. Maybe go with the melody. I muted too much stuff. right. So what you're doing here is you play notes in an octave going upwards, which is perfectly fine. But you don't do that for the first note. So here you do like kind of a chord thing, but without the third, and then you just play the notes in an octave. What? Let's explore our options here. What we could do with the stuff I explained in the first part of our live stream. So I'm gonna just take this here. Make it a bit shorter so that it fits nicely. Now let's make like serious chords out of this, and let's make a voice leading with this. So I guess, do we want this to be the melody and the bass? No, I don't think so. We go with this with the melody. So I'm just gonna put the bass down here. All right. So how could we go at this? This obviously now is in A minor. So let's just choose notes which fit the A minor scale. So what could be this? Or maybe this is a whole chord. Yeah, we could go try that as well. Yeah, that's nice, I think. Again, this voice meter stuff happening. Is it happening to you too?
A little bit, yeah.
All right. But now it's good again, so sorry for that.
Yeah, so as I was listening to the song, it really sounded nice to me, the piano melody itself, but I just felt like it didn't have that consistency of it in it. So
Yeah.
there was nothing to hold it together like a chord progression or something. It just sounded really well as a melody on itself, but it was a bit chaotic in terms of a composition. So I think what you're doing here is really good and really helps to bring the melody back together. So
Yeah, it's a bit of an improvisation stuff. I think the melody was very nice. As I said, it is used in Assassin's Creed, and that's of course top notch stuff. And yeah, what could be done to improve this is doing like actually building the melody, building something, a foundation to the melody. I'm not sure if I want to go like this, but it can be done like this. So all right. Just extend this. All right. So to my ears, it sounds like the second chord would come in here. Let's try it with the dominant chord. Well, why not? Why not?
yeah, I think dominant will work in here because it's gonna harmonize with the melody, which is an E as well. So we're going F to E, therefore bringing it back into the dominant.
All right, here I'm gonna try something new I haven't showed you before in my part, and it is not a strict thing at all to have the root note of the chord, which is E in this case, to have it on the bottom of your chord. That's not a thing you have to do. You can also put the third or the fifth. Oh, but let's say with the third. The fifth is okay in the bass as well, but you have to kind of know when it's appropriate. So it's not always sounding that good. It makes your harmonies and your music sound a bit not stable. So as long as your root note is in the bass, your chords and melody will always sound stable. And when you go away from that, so when you put your third or your fifth in the bass, it starts to be a bit not that grounded. So you have to be a bit more careful with that, especially if you place the fifth in the bass. But with the third, it's not a problem at all. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna do that because when I do the voice leading stuff here, then as you can see, what would happen is the melody plays the note E. Here I wanna play the note E because it's in the chord before, so it would sound nice with a pad or something. And in the bass, there is E as well. So the chord right now is composed of E, 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 and B, which is a pretty empty sounding chord because it has no third.
Yeah, so and
To
since it
correct
has
that,
no third, there is no
yeah,
definition of major or minor, it's just a superchord, which is basically
exactly.
placed in here.
I'm just gonna play how this sounds if it doesn't have that. It's not that bad actually, but it could be fuller. So I'm gonna just use the method I explained earlier. Just go up one note, go up the next note, and keep that. Go up one note, go the next note, keep that. And as we can see, the note G would fit very nicely here, which is the third of the chord. Now we have every note present: E, G, B.
Honestly, I would probably go even further than that and make an augmented chord, so take B up to C, so that we have that C also stretching to the next chord.
We can try that, yeah. But I'm gonna try both.
Okay.
Oh, this sounds very nice. And now try this one. Oh, this is also very nice. Yeah. Now this is the creative part. You have to decide. You can't do both. Yeah, you could do both, but I think that wouldn't sound that great. Or
Well,
would it?
this is the great part about music, is all the creativity that you just do.
All right, I'm gonna play it again. That's very beautiful. Mine is more sad. This one is more sad. So you have to decide if you want to go with the more happy or the more sad vibe. But let's go with the more happy vibe. Okay, then let's listen to what happens after.
So I think we want to go to ET here.
All right, so this is the last one is the tonic again.
Yeah, this is a pretty fast-paced part, I should say. So I think it could actually consist of 3 different chords in here.
I didn't get that your audio cut out. What did you say?
I was saying that it's a pretty fast-paced part, and it could
Yeah.
actually have 3 chords in it, I think.
Yeah. I think that something like that too. All right. So now let's just go with D if it's in the melody. D is A, B, C, D, which is the subdominant. That's perfectly fine. Let's do that. Yeah. D, skip F. G, skip A. Just always trying to establish this thinking in you guys. Oh, it's very nice, yes.
I don't know, I had this weird idea of
Yeah, right.
basically just copying the same D chord but changing F to E so that you have that weird resolution. Yeah, it's just like it's basically playing around with consistency of the chord because we're essentially playing the same chord
Alright.
except that it's just different. I don't
Let's
know
try
if
it.
that's gonna work, but
Oh, it's not exact what I did here.
no, yeah, it's a bit off.
I tend to be a bit messy. Yeah. I'm not sure where to place really the chords here.
Do you think a good way to finish would be to do a cadence? Yeah, so like E to A would work, 4 to 1.
Yeah, but I'm not. Yeah, yeah.
Or maybe, do you think it should resolve in the next bar? So the A chord should start like whenever the melody finishes in the next bar.
You mean like something like this?
Yeah, I think that's gonna work better.
Alright, I have to expand this.
Yeah, I think that works
Yeah.
pretty well.
It sounds good to you. I think it sounds better if it is here. Yeah, but it's both is good. So you may notice here I have placed the G sharp. I haven't talked about that earlier, but Elmar has. So basically in minor, you can place additionally to all the white notes you can also use the G sharp note and the F sharp, no? If it fits your melody, if it fits your cadence, so especially in the dominant chord or in an upward voice motion. So whenever you feel like you need more tension, you can do that. So this chord will work like this, and it also will work like this. I'm gonna show you the difference.
Yeah, and so
So
the
it
reason
both-
why that happens this way is because so the tonic is A, and when we we have G sharp, it has strong, as we call it, attraction back to the tonic, so you just feel like you want to resolve it. Whereas G is more of an independent tone and it doesn't really need resolution. So that's why G sharp
Yeah,
gives this effect.
and to really resolve it, you have to really go into A. So right now, what I did is kind of not very nice, because the real resolution would be if this note goes into A, because it really tends to it wants to go there. Whereas this note can go anywhere, but this note is augmented and wants to really have that final finish. I'm gonna mute everything else so you can hear that. This is very classical.
Yeah.
So that's what you wanna hear when you do this. That's okay too, but it doesn't need it really that much. Let's go with this. And also repeat your note C.
Yeah, so
Very
it works
classic.
really well. It works really, really well.
Yeah,
now,
it's very classic.
The good thing is that the melody now has that chord consistency and foundation, and it sounds more conjunct, if you know what I mean. It's just, you can actually feel the melody and you can follow it.
Yeah, if you now split it like I have done it before, like, you know, to put the bass on some bass sound and stuff like that, then it immediately will sound very full. I'm just gonna quickly do that with the bass, because why not? I love this bass. I think
That's really loud.
this, yeah, I think this crackling stuff comes when it loads in new sounds. All right.
Yeah, I think it works really well.
All right, and as before, as we discussed before, you can do anything with this. You can use these middle notes as pads. You can chop them up. You can do arpeggios, anything you want. And of course, you'd have to continue this kind of practice for the various sections of your song, so that all in all you get some kind of structure in here, that it doesn't sound that much like an improvisation, but it, you know, make something like an intro and the chorus and the verse, and then it works very nicely. I still love the melody, and you have a good ear, because the Assassin's Creed melody is amazing. You can Google it. It's from the game Assassin's Creed 2. The composer is really famous who did it. I don't remember his name right now, but he did some computer games. He also did. All right.
So I'm gonna try loading that on my computer here and see how that works, because maybe the
All
sound
right.
quality will be slightly better. So let's see if you can hear it if I load it. Not sure yet. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna try opening that and just running that through here. Can you hear some of it? Apparently we're gonna switch to stream. Okay, anyway, so Urban Husky, let's check out what you have here now. So I hear it starts with a really interesting Moog-like sound, and I think it's pretty cool. The way that the drums work. So straight away, there is one thing which I would probably go slightly different about. So if you just listen to the way the hi-hat works, you have that really distinct vibe in what you did here. So, and you can sort of feel it. You can sort of feel all the changes and the way the melody goes. You can feel the side chain. And whenever you start the hi-hat, first of all, it sounds really repetitive because of the fact that it's only one sample. So I would recommend using probably 2 or 3 different samples for the hi-hat, just to make it a bit more interesting. Or maybe adding something like modulation or phaser, just to move it around a bit and get it actually going. And also maybe try sidechaining it or something, so that it doesn't sound so distinct. When you listen to the whole song. Oh yeah, here we actually have the second sound for the hi-hat. But still, it's just like, sort of kills the vibe a bit for me, if you know what I mean. The song still sounds really good, but this hi-hat just sort of takes the vibe and the sidechain away from it a bit. Okay, so here is an interesting moment. You're using a lot of synthesizers, and I can hear 3 synthesizers playing at the same time, I think. So you have the wobble, let's call it a wobble. Then you have the bass line, which was the one that the song started with. So this. And then you also have another melody, or even 2 on top. Yeah, so you have the one that goes dun 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 dun, and then another one that just plays 1 note. And the problem with that is that all of those synths, they actually have a really similar timbre, if you know what I mean. So that they actually sound quite alike. And when you listen to it in the mix, I'm currently listening in the headphones, but I bet if I play it on my speakers, it's still going to be the same thing. They just blend together and they correlate, as we call it. So a solution to that would be to maybe just work a bit on the imaging. So move some synths left, some synths right, and keep some in the middle. Maybe try distancing them away from each other by adding reverb on some and making some louder and some quieter. Also EQ them just so that you have certain frequencies on one synth and then others on the other. And I think that should actually do the job for it. And besides that, I really like the techie vibe of the song, and just the way the drums work. I really enjoyed the drums. This is sort of funk style drums, I would say, and I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, so here you can really feel how the melody actually starts moving around, and you can hear the different steps. That's definitely a different part of the song, and I can hear that. However, I would like to see, you know, just slightly more distinction between the different parts, because when you listen to what you have here, it isn't really that obvious that the part has changed. Between the different parts, because when you listen to what you have here, I can hear myself, so I guess I'm
Sorry.
Oh, no problem.
That was me.
I'm just gonna mute the thing for now, so that you can hear the song, and maybe once I'm done you can just say something about it as well. I'm just gonna mute Discord for now, but you can watch the live stream. Okay, this should be off now, so let's keep going. You have some really nice harmonies in here, I should say that, and I would actually love to hear more of those harmonies. So if you could sort of bring up that change in notes as you have in the bass line, just make it a tiny bit louder and play around with that, because the synths, they sort of distract from that change and they just don't seem to be working together with the bass line at this point. So maybe just see how that works and just try to add something to it to make sure that the bass line and the synths actually work together, because I think it's really important in this style to do so. So yeah, you have that melody in the bass line, and I would love to hear that melody in the top synth as well. So that's just one thought I had about it. So that thing, the fill that you had, it was really, really sudden. And even though it really helps the song, maybe just try bringing it in a bit more so that people are actually prepared for it, because I was listening to the song and I was enjoying the flow, but then when the other part came in, it sort of was all of a sudden and I wasn't really prepared for it. So just maybe some sort of reference to that part or a build up or something would do the job, or maybe cutting out the instruments as you get to that part. So just make it a bit more obvious that something is about to change. That's just my main suggestion for this part. And so besides that, I think it's a pretty solid job and it's pretty nice work, so I enjoyed it. And yeah, I mean, it's a really nice style, and I like the choice of synths, and I like how the melody goes, the harmonic consistency of it. However, what I lack in terms of mixing is just a bit of that separation between the instruments. It sort of sounds all together and you can't really hear all the different sounds. So maybe either try looking for a different synth for like the lead melody or something, or try looking into more imaging so that the thing just sounds more left and right and further and back. And I think that should do the job. So do we have some more suggestions and some more demos? I think we do. Okay, let's just see if Dranenk has something to say about it. Hello? I guess Dranenk is listening to a different song, or I don't know. Okay, anyway, so let's see what else we've got here. So let's just check the chat quickly. Oh, hello Oliver, and hello Andy. So we're already in the demo drop part, as you can notice. So right now let's see if I can play what Oliver sent us. I'm just gonna drop that back to my Mac. Here we go. So let's try dropping that in, seeing how that sounds. I didn't get what that was. Was that something wrong with my player, or that was the audio file? a gap there. Okay, well, I mean, so far from what I've heard, it's a pretty solid piece of work, and it sounds really nice to me. I really enjoyed the drums, especially that drum fill in the beginning. Wait, let me show you. I think that was really cool, actually. I quite enjoyed it. Just basically, I quite enjoyed the piece, actually. Just the only thing that sort of stands out to me is the violins. They just sound a bit too robotic and mechanic to me, and they just lack, some sort of vibrato and that sense of liveness. So the way I would go about it, I would add something like roto vibrato on it, or vibrato as you say it, and also maybe just work a bit on modulation of it so that it doesn't really stand out that much, and maybe volume automation so that you have violins sort of breathing together with the flow of the song. Because so far, if you listen to when the violins come in, they sort of sound a bit too sudden and too straight, if you know what I mean. They do blend in, but then at some point they just sound really straight and liveless to me, so that's probably one thing I would look at. Yeah, so again, it's all the same thing, because the arrangement itself sounds really good, and the drum pattern is just amazing. I mean, I enjoy and I love the way it sounds. It's just the strings that really stand out to me, and they don't stand out because they sound bad. No, they don't. But that's the only thing that sort of distracts me from actually enjoying the piece, and I think that might be because of just how robotic they sound. So that's probably going to be the only thing and the only concern and the only suggestion for me for this song, because overall I think it's a really outstanding piece. Yeah, I really love the choice of synths that you have, and I mean, overall it's a really great piece. I can't really judge the mixing of it now. I mean, I actually could. Okay, wait, let me try and turn my mic off so that I can listen on my main system and just see if I can comment something on the mixing. Yeah, so I just listened on my main system, and basically, I think this is louder, this is better. There is, I mean, not much concerns. The only thing I would probably look at is the kick and the bass, because I just feel like there isn't too much click in the kick. It just sounds a bit dull to me, and whenever you actually hear the bass playing together with the kick, I can feel sort of an overlap. So maybe just compress the bass whenever the kick hits, and that's sort of gonna help you to clean the things up. And yeah, besides that, I think it's a really great piece of music, so there isn't really much I can comment on. Okay, wait, let's see what we have. Okay, Dranenk.
Yeah,
You're
can you hear
there?
me?
Yes, I can. So,
All right,
did you hear the
amazing.
piece?
No,
That's what
I did not.
I was hoping you were gonna hear it on YouTube because
Yeah, but yeah,
okay,
I
okay,
heard what you said about it, and I would wanna add, what you said about this mechanical stuff. I can pretty imagine um, getting that vibe of real playing in there is pretty difficult, especially if you don't have access to libraries, to orchestral libraries with really many articulations and stuff like that. So that helps as well. So if you can get access to some kind of big orchestral library, which does not only have legato strings, but also all kinds of staccato and vibrato and diminuendo and all that stuff. And of course, you then also have to use them. So put all these key switches in there and stuff like that. And then you can get a really nice lifelike performance when you change when a note plays in which way. So not every note has to be, you know, held indefinitely and with the same volume. You should do stuff like getting louder or getting quieter or doing some vibrato, as Elmar said, stuff like that. And if you can't do that because you can't get a big orchestral library, then you can try to get those sorts of effects with inserts like a tremolo or something like that. It won't sound as natural, but it will do the trick.
yeah, yeah. So basically, the violins and the strings would probably be the only thing I would look at in the track, and besides that, it just sounded amazing. So I think that's the end of submissions for now. Doesn't look like we have any more incoming. Let's just read the messages. We have some new messages. Oh, Urban Husky is saying that the piece he he sent us actually was made using hardware, and he was using two Moogs. So therefore, I did get right the thing with the Moogs, but I think if it's still possible, maybe just try considering moving the pan around a bit for them. That would be the only thing I would probably change in that. So, oh yeah, the questions. So wait, let's maybe have a look at the questions then, shall we? So, so do you want to answer the first one then?
I'm just reading them, so let's see. Creating variations to your chords and melodies, B sections or whatever for different parts of your track. All right, so the truth, the ugly truth about the music of today. Do you want to hear it? It's just like the same four chords all the time. But of course, we don't have to do that like that. What I like to do is just use like really completely different chords in the chorus than in the verse.
Yeah, I mean,
So
they
really,
could be the same chords as in the scale. So, for example, if you're in A minor, you can still stay within A minor, but instead of using 1, 3, 4, 5, you can use something like 5, 4, 1, 4. So basically, just
exactly.
the progression and the chords of the scale within the same scale. So I think that's what's
Yeah, I'm always talking about within the scale. It just changing up the order or the chords. What Elmar said is start with the fifth, for example, with the fifth chord. It get when you do that in the chorus, you get a really powerful impact when you start it in the beginning with the dominant, and then you switch between tension and soft parts radically, like you do a dominant chord and then you do a tonic chord and then again a dominant and then again a tonic. It's like a back and forth between. It's like a battle between hell and heaven. So it's really strong, especially if you start with the dominant. But I would not recommend that for the start of a song. Or maybe you can do that to really grab the listener's attention. But then, then that should be your chorus. So I think it's getting more and more common to start with the chorus in songs.
Yeah.
So you perfectly can do that. Of course, with less instrumentation, less arrangement, but it's still the chorus. It's a part of the chorus.
Yeah. So then another question by Sorrow, which is pretty much a similar thing. So how can chords change as in breakdown, chorus, drop, and intro? So the different chord progressions for the different parts of the songs. And I mean, yeah, it's perfectly fine. As Dranenk has already explained, you can just use different chords within the same scale, or you could also go slightly differently. I'm gonna try to turn my piano back on so that I can show what I mean by that. Let's see if I can do that. Just gonna turn Discord off as well for a second. So I hope you're able to hear me now well. So basically there's a thing called modulation in music, and I really want to show you more about modulation. And I think it's a great way to differentiate a song and make it sound more interesting and more exciting. So there are multiple ways of doing modulation. The simplest way is obviously modulating into a relative key. A relative key is basically switching into either a fifth up, a fifth down, a fourth up, a fourth down, or to a relative minor. So for example, if we're playing in C major, the relative keys for us would be A minor, G major, F major, and obviously the same keys but on the way down. So how can we do the modulation? The simplest way to do modulation is through a cadence. So once we have the chord progression going, for example, let's go in C major, just the simplest chord progression. And then we come to the so-called pivot chord, which is the chord which is used in both the home key and the key that we're trying to modulate to. So, for example, if we're modulating to G, obviously G would be a really good chord to choose as a pivot chord, because it is a fifth of C major, but it is also the tonic of the new key. So we can pretty much do a seamless transition, and we can still maintain it as the same song, but still use a different key for the song. So an example of such transition would be doing something like in the new key. So I guess that sort of explains this thing. However, I want to take it slightly further, and I want to talk about modulating to keys which don't have a pivot chord. So not the relative keys, but any other key. So for example, let's say we're in E minor and we want to modulate to C major. How can that be done? So basically, the way to do that is to actually analyze the different keys. So if we look at the E minor key, it basically has E minor in it. And if we look at A minor, which is obviously the relative minor of C major, but I'm going to use that one just for a better example, we have E major in it. So the transition that we basically need to do, and the chord that I would personally choose as a pivot chord, is the one that exists as a minor chord in one key and as a major chord in the other one. So basically we have a transition here. But how could that be done? And there is a bunch of easy ways of doing so, and they actually sound sort of jazzy and bluesy, but let me try and show those to you. I'm gonna try and play in a bluesy manner as well, just to try and keep you entertained for a bit. I'm just playing chord progression in E minor, and now my transition. In the new chord, and basically there's a lot of ways of doing that, but I really enjoyed the fact of actually transitioning from a minor chord into a major chord, so I would suggest that as an interesting thing to play with. Just to show that again, we start in our first key, and make it a cadence. Basically, cadence is just the ending of the chord sequence. So good cadence would be 5-1, which is called the perfect cadence, and it just sounds great. So instead of finishing A to C, I would rather finish G to C. And I would also invert the chord to make it something like that. So I think that's a very simple way of actually introducing something new to your song and just adding a bit of variation on your chord structure. And maybe that's going to help you in practice. So let's get into the other questions now. I'm just going to go back to my screen and turn the mic back on. Let's hear if... Yeah, the mic should be back on now. So, Dranenk, are you back on? Hello? Oh, right, because the thing is off. Hello?
No?
Yeah, now we can hear.
Good? Everything good? Okay. I just wanted to add, if you really want a basic transposition, so if you're quite not that good with modulating yet, you just can, like, if you play your melody and your chords for like the 100th time or something, you just can shift the whole chord progression, the whole melody, everything up a note. So, for example, from C to D, or something like 2 half notes upwards, and it gets kind of a new feel, basically with just shifting it upwards.
Yeah. So let's just answer the last 2 questions, and I think we can be done for today because we're already a bit over time. But anyway, so. Can we explain how and why breaking music theory rules may sound good on specific occasions, and how not to unlearn the ability to do those mistakes alongside learning music theory? So, actually, I think that people will always make mistakes, and the question is just to understand when to make this mistake. And sometimes experimenting with the songs and just making a random mistake might actually help you. So, obviously, the things and the theory that we told you today will help you a lot in production, as it will make you understand how to make songs better and how to create chord progressions and how to stay within the same key. But nobody stops you from experimenting and trying to introduce some other things, because music theory is not only about major and minor chords. The music theory is also about augmented chords, about suspended fourth, suspended second, and just there's literally tons and tons of things you can go on about. And there is literally no wrong way of playing music, it's just a question of how you harmonize it. So I think the main reason is just trying not to bond yourself and not to frame yourself within those rules. They're here to help you, but they're not there to limit you. They're not a magical formula that will help you make perfect music. It's just there to guide you and help you.
It's like something like when you know you want to, you always. I have my opinion is on this is you should, the best case scenarios, you should know your music theory, and when you know your music theory, you also know when you want to apply something different or try something new. So in my opinion, you should know the moment you want to break away from the theory, and you should know why you want to do that. So maybe you want to achieve a different sound, or you want to try something new at that moment, but it should be a conscious decision, or at least that's how I like to go at it.
Yeah. So then,
That, that's not saying you can't make mistakes or anything, because mistakes will come naturally and you will learn and evolve from them. I'm just saying, know your theory to know when to do something different.
exactly, yeah. So then also the last question that we have on here is how to prepare a track for mastering. As I worked a lot with a lot of mastering engineers, and I was doing mastering by myself as well, I can say that literally all mastering engineers, they all have their own requirements. But just to put the long story short, the main requirements are trying to remove all easily replaceable effects. So things like compression, reverb, all those easy effects need to be removed, as the mastering engineer will be adding them on by themselves. And I think all you need to keep is stuff like phasers, modulation, and some weird things that you can't really hear and you can't really replicate. Then also another question is what sort of mastering you're doing, because if you're doing a stem mastering where you have a bunch of different tracks, it really depends. If you have 4 tracks, so like the way you usually do it, drums, leads, bass, and effects, that's one way of doing it, and it requires a lot of sort of preparation of those tracks within your own digital audio workstation. But a different way is when you're actually sending all the tracks of your project. And in that case, I would just literally leave the volumes as they are in the track so that the engineer could replicate the volumes easily, as they will have the idea that you had in mind. The only thing is basically removing stuff like compressors and reverb, because they don't really need that, and they will be adding those by themselves, as they're usually the things that add all the dirt and kill the dynamics in the project. So yeah, I think that's basically the main suggestions that I would give. Also, another thing, which is really important for me as a mastering engineer, please name your tracks correctly, so that you don't have to because sometimes you have something like,
Mic 1 to mic 20.
Exactly, mic 1 to mic 20, and then you have flute 15, but you have no flute 1. And how do you go? Yeah, so stuff like that. Basically, just naming the tracks and having respect to the mastering engineer. That's what's most important, I think.
Also, I would add, I wouldn't do the pre-mastering, what you're basically doing before sending it away. I wouldn't do it too loud. So really keep down that volume. It's no problem for the mastering engineer to bring it up like 18 dBs or something. So you can really be quiet with that.
Exactly, yeah. So Piotr is asking what I was saying, that we should remove compressors and reverbs from master channel or actual tracks. I'm talking about the actual tracks right now, but keep in mind that this is for the export to the mastering engineer. So whenever you're exporting your track as stems, I would really recommend removing those effects, as they will make your track really clean and they will allow the mastering engineer more space to actually work on it. And then they can add all the effects and actually process the track correctly.
Yeah, of course, there are sometimes those artists who really want the pumping going on, and they do really not want to remove that. So my advice in that phase would be send him both. Send him the stuff with the removed compressor, and also send him the stuff with your compressor, how you would like to sound it, so he can decide how he goes at it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think we will be coming to an end at this point. I'd like to thank you everyone who was watching our stream today, and we would love to hear your feedback on how we did, and maybe just some reflection on how the stream actually went. First of all, really sorry for all the technical difficulties, because as you understand, we're in a pretty hot situation right now with the quarantine and everything, so it's quite hard to actually get things working the way they should. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and we'll probably see you again sometime soon if you enjoyed the stream. And Dranenk, do you have something else to say?
I just want to thank you for watching and for hearing, and I hope you really could take something away from this stream. I hope I could help you to achieve a somewhat better sound in any way. I hope it helps, and thanks.
Yes, and if you have any other questions left, or whatever your concerns are, just make sure to hit us up in the music production chat, because we're always there, we're checking the messages. So whenever you have any questions, just feel free to hit us up or DM us with your demos and everything. We'll be happy to give feedback. And just a few final words for my Russian audience. I'm gonna say that in Russian, so I'm sorry, guys, if you don't understand. Спасибо большое всем, кто заходил сегодня на стрим. Спасибо всем, кто смотрел. У нас уже более 500 просмотров на стриме. Это действительно очень приятно. И спасибо большое, что вы действительно заходите. Спасибо, что смотрите. В скором времени у нас будет еще один стрим состояться именно для российской аудитории. Мы будем созваниваться с Лешей Разумовым, очень известным нашим российским продюсером, действительно профессионалом своего дела. Поговорим о том, как можно наладить workflow, и поговорим о том, какие есть всякие пасхалки и идеи о том, как можно сделать ситуацию с программой проще и быстрее. Вот, поэтому большое благодарочка всем за просмотр, и надеюсь, увидимся с вами уже скоро. Yeah, I guess that's it. So, thank you very much.
All right.
I guess we'll start
Thanks.
disconnecting now.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
See you guys later.